Hello, my dear friend. Before we begin today's important conversation, can I ask, where are you watching this from? Drop it in the comments. I truly enjoy hearing where this community of wise, reflective seniors is tuning in from. And while you're at it, if this channel has ever made you feel seen, informed, or even just a little less alone, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. We're building a place here for senior health, motivation, quotes, elderly reflections, and real-life lessons from those who've lived. Alright, now let's talk about something a lot of people over 70 are still quietly wondering. Is one glass of wine at dinner still okay at my age? You see, for years, we were told that moderate wine drinking, especially red wine, was good for the heart. Doctors said it, magazines echoed it, and many of us felt a bit more relaxed reaching for that evening pour. But now, the research is shifting. And the truth? It's more complex than we thought, especially after 70. Let me tell you about Frank. Frank is 74. Lively. Sharp. He walks every day, watches documentaries, and still fixes his old radio when it starts crackling. Every night, after dinner, he pours himself a glass of Merlot, the same way he has for nearly 40 years. He says it helps him relax, helps him sleep. But last year, during a routine checkup, something changed. His blood pressure was creeping up. His memory? A little more foggy than usual. He mentioned the wine to his doctor, expecting a nod of approval. But instead, the doctor leaned in and said, "At your age, even one drink a night isn't what it used to be." That comment led Frank down a path of research. And it's the same path we're going to walk together today. Because new studies, large ones, with tens of thousands of older adults, are telling a different story than we've heard before. Let's start with the heart health myth. For decades, red wine was praised for containing resveratrol, an antioxidant that was said to protect the heart and lower cholesterol. That's not entirely wrong, but here's the catch. The amount of resveratrol you'd need to see those benefits is far higher than what's in a single glass of wine. You'd have to drink dozens of bottles a week, and by that point, the alcohol would be doing far more harm than any antioxidant could undo. A recent study from Harvard and the University of Oxford looked at over 500,000 adults aged 70 and up. They found that even low levels of daily alcohol, including that one glass, were associated with a higher risk of atrial fibrillation, that's an irregular heartbeat, as well as increased blood pressure. Why? Because after 70, the body simply processes alcohol differently. Your liver isn't as efficient. Your kidneys filter slower. Your brain is more sensitive. That glass of wine you used to bounce back from? Now it stays in your system longer. It hits harder. And it quietly taxes your organs without you realizing it. Let's talk about sleep. Many people say wine helps them fall asleep faster, and that's true. Alcohol is a sedative. But here's the other side. It also disrupts deep sleep, the kind your brain and body need to restore themselves overnight. Frank noticed this too. After tracking his sleep with a smartwatch, he realized that the nights he drank wine, he fell asleep quicker, but woke up more often. He felt groggier in the morning. And his blood pressure was higher on those days. It wasn't ruining his life, but it was chipping away at his well-being. Now, you might be wondering, but I've been drinking a glass a night for decades. If it hasn't hurt me yet, why worry now? That's a fair question. But here's what the research says. The risks of alcohol become more pronounced as you age. That glass you tolerated well at 50 can contribute to falls, confusion, dehydration, or liver strain at 75, especially if you're on medications, which many seniors are. One study from the National Institute on Aging showed that older adults who drank daily had a 17% higher risk of falls, not because they were drunk, but because their balance, coordination, and reaction time were slightly dulled without them noticing. Now let me be clear, this isn't about shame. This isn't about telling you that you've done something wrong. This is about staying informed, so you can make the best choices for the next decade of your life. Frank made a small change, and I want to tell you what happened. he didn't quit cold turkey. Instead, he switched from daily wine to just 1 or 2 glasses per week, always with food, and always earlier in the evening. On the other nights, he tried herbal tea or simply water with lemon. Within 2 months, his blood pressure dropped by 10 points. His sleep improved. His energy was more steady. And most importantly, he felt clearer. "It's not about the wine," he told me one day. "It's about whether it's helping me or just part of a routine I never questioned." That's the heart of today's message. After 70, everything changes, slowly, quietly, but meaningfully. And habits we built in our 40s or 50s may no longer serve us the same way. The glass of wine we once saw as a little indulgence may now be something our body struggles to process. You don't have to give it up completely, unless your doctor recommends it. But it is worth asking yourself, how does this make me feel the next morning? Does it help or just distract? Because the truth is, your greatest medicine at this stage of life is clarity. Clarity of mind. Clarity of body. Clarity of spirit. And anything, even something as romanticized as red wine, that clouds that clarity deserves to be questioned. If this is resonating with you, I'd love to know, do you drink regularly? Have you ever noticed a change in how it affects you after 70? Leave a comment below. Your story might help someone else. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and like the video. Here, we honor senior health, elderly wisdom, quiet independence, and the kind of reflection that can truly add years to your life, and life to your years. When we left off, we were talking about Frank, the 74-year-old who swapped his nightly wine for something gentler, and how that small shift gave him more energy, better sleep, and clearer mornings. But Frank's story isn't rare. I've heard versions of it from dozens of older adults who, after years of habit, began asking a very simple question: is this helping me, or just something I do? And for many, the answer wasn't what they expected. Take Eleanor, for example. She's 78, widowed, and lives alone in a cozy little house in upstate New York. For years, she enjoyed a glass of Chardonnay while watching the evening news, a little ritual she and her husband used to share. After he passed, she kept the habit going. It gave her a sense of connection, a link to the past. But over time, she began noticing changes. Her digestion felt off. She was sleeping lighter. Her moods, usually even, started shifting like the wind. She chalked it up to aging, until her doctor asked about alcohol. Eleanor said, "Just a glass a night. Nothing wild." And her doctor replied, "Even one glass can have a different impact on your body now, especially if you're on medications." And that's something we all need to talk about. Alcohol and medications. Because once you're past 70, it's not just about the wine itself, it's about how it interacts with everything else you're taking. Let's break this down, plain and simple. If you're taking blood pressure medication, alcohol can reduce its effectiveness, or, in some cases, amplify the effect, causing sudden drops in pressure that make you dizzy, unsteady, or even cause fainting. If you're on sleep aids or anxiety meds, alcohol can dangerously increase sedation. That means slower breathing, slower reflexes, and a higher risk of confusion or falls, especially at night. And if you take pain medication, alcohol can strain your liver and digestive system to a dangerous degree, even at low doses. In a study by the University of Michigan, nearly 40% of seniors over 70 who reported drinking regularly were also on at least one medication that should not be mixed with alcohol. Many didn't know. Some never asked. Some were never told. Now, I don't say this to scare you, but to equip you. Because aging is not about giving things up. It's about making better agreements with your body. Eleanor made her agreement like this: she switched to sparkling grape juice. Same glass. Same time of day. Same sense of ritual. But now, no fogginess. No digestive issues. And her doctor told her that her liver enzymes, which were climbing slightly, had settled back down. She still raises a glass at 6 p.m. Still feels close to her husband. But now, she also feels clear. I want to pause here and ask you something, from one older adult to another. When you think about that glass of wine, what are you really craving? Is it the taste? The habit? The way it slows you down? Or maybe it's just a moment to yourself. A little pause. A small comfort. If so, there are many ways to keep that comfort without compromising your health. Because what the research is saying, louder and louder, is that alcohol is not neutral in later life. It chips away at memory, sleep, heart rhythm, and liver function. But more than that, it can make you feel like you're fading, without realizing why. That tiredness you can't explain? That short temper? That forgetfulness? Sometimes it's not age. Sometimes, it's the glass of wine. Let's also not forget hydration. Alcohol, even in small amounts, is a diuretic. That means it dehydrates you. And dehydration is one of the leading causes of confusion, dizziness, and weakness in older adults. One study showed that mild dehydration increased fall risk by nearly 30% in people over 70. I had a friend, Margaret, who kept falling. Not hard falls, just little stumbles. She was 82 and otherwise healthy. Her doctor couldn't find the cause. Then someone asked, "What do you drink in the evening?" "Wine. 1 glass. Every night. And barely any water." When she swapped her wine for herbal tea, her balance improved. Her skin looked better. Her energy, stronger. That one change shifted her whole body's stability. Again, this isn't about fear. It's about freedom through awareness. So if you're still enjoying a glass of wine now and then, here are a few gentle guidelines, backed by the latest research from the Mayo Clinic and the World Health Organization. Never drink on an empty stomach. Food slows the absorption and reduces the shock to your system. Stay hydrated throughout the day. For every alcoholic drink, follow with a full glass of water. Avoid alcohol within 3 hours of bedtime. It may help you fall asleep, but it reduces REM sleep, the most restorative kind. Be honest with your doctor. Always mention alcohol use when discussing medications. Even a small glass a night can interfere. Consider alcohol-free alternatives. Sparkling water with lemon, herbal tonics, or non-alcoholic wines now taste better than ever, and many carry none of the risks. Most of all, listen to your body. Not your old habits. Not old advice. Your body, now, in this season of life, is speaking a different language. And your job is to honor it. Frank did. Eleanor did. Margaret did. And you can, too. If this is helping you reflect, please let me know in the comments. What's your relationship with alcohol like today? Has it changed since your 60s or 70s? I read every comment. And your words might give someone else the courage to reflect too. If you haven't already, like this video and subscribe. This is a space for truth, for growth, for the kind of senior health conversations most people are too afraid to start. But not us. We're still learning. Still adapting. Still becoming the kind of elders we once looked up to. There's something freeing that happens when you let go of the idea that a ritual has to include alcohol in order to feel meaningful. It might sound small, but when Frank swapped out his nightly Merlot for warm chamomile tea, with a splash of honey, he didn't just change what was in his cup. He changed how he ended his day. Instead of a slow slide into sleep fogged by sedation, he started noticing things again: the sound of rain outside the window, the feeling of his feet wrapped in a soft blanket, the words of a prayer he used to say as a boy. That's what happens when your mind is clear. Life returns to you. Now, I want to share one last story with you. It's about James, 83 years old, retired professor, living alone in Oregon. Sharp as a tack. He never drank much in his youth, too busy with books and ideas. But after retirement, something changed. Loneliness crept in. Evenings felt longer. Phone calls from his adult children became less frequent. Friends moved away or passed on. So James, like many, turned to a quiet little habit to fill the silence, a small glass of scotch before bed. At first, it was harmless. Comforting, even. But as the years passed, he noticed his sadness deepening. His thoughts became slower. He was sleeping more, but feeling less rested. It wasn't the scotch, he thought. Just age. Until one evening, he accidentally took his blood pressure pills after drinking, not before. He felt dizzy, disoriented. Ended up in the emergency room. Thankfully, he recovered. But that night became his wake-up call. When the nurse gently asked, "Do you drink alcohol, sir?" He answered honestly. And that honesty saved his life. He decided, then and there, to stop drinking altogether. It wasn't easy. Not because he was addicted, but because the ritual had become emotional. That one glass had become his way of coping with loneliness, with feeling invisible. But here's what changed everything for him. He found something better. He joined an online poetry group for seniors. Started calling his brother every Thursday night. He planted tomatoes. Bought a rocking chair for his porch. He still sits there at sunset, but now, it's with a journal, a glass of lemon water, and a little feeling of victory. James told me something I'll never forget. I thought I was giving up something I enjoyed. But I was really giving myself back the chance to feel fully alive. And that's what I want for you too. Not to feel ashamed. Not to feel judged. But to feel empowered. To know that after 70, every choice you make still matters. In fact, it might matter more now than ever. Because your body is more delicate, yes, but it's also more honest. It tells you what it needs, if you're willing to listen. And what it needs, most of all, is presence. That's the beautiful truth about this stage of life. You don't need substances to make a moment meaningful. You don't need wine to mark a special night. You don't need alcohol to soften the edges. You have wisdom. You have memory. You have stories, and reflection, and peace. And if your body is gently telling you that alcohol doesn't serve it the way it used to, that's not a loss. That's a blessing in disguise. A new invitation to honor yourself more deeply than ever before. Here's what I want you to take from all this. If you choose to continue drinking, do it mindfully. Pay attention. Hydrate. Space it out. Don't let it interfere with your sleep, your medications, or your clarity. And if you choose to stop, or cut back, know this. You're not giving something up. You're getting something back. Your energy. Your balance. Your brain. Your mornings. Your independence. And, perhaps most importantly, your power. Because even in your 70s, 80s, or 90s, you are still the author of your own story. So whether tonight you raise a glass of wine, a cup of tea, or just take a deep breath at sunset, do it with love for yourself. Do it because your future is still unfolding. Do it because you are still becoming. And let that be enough. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe. It helps this space grow, not just for me, but for all of us who still believe in elderly reflections, senior health, and the quiet strength of wisdom well earned. And don't forget, I'd still love to know where you're watching from. Drop it in the comments. Let's keep building this beautiful circle of older, wiser souls. Here's to you. Here's to living with intention. And here's to doing it, one clear, powerful choice at a time.